before Tyson Fury actually fought Klitschko and managed to win the heavyweight titles, there was a time when he was about to fight David Haye, and for whatever reason, regardless of whether you think it's the truth or not, the fight fell through. Obviously, David Haye said that the reason why the fight fell through was because of injuries that he amassed. I think he got a cut in sparring, or he hurt his shoulder. I can't remember what exactly. Now, at the time, a lot of the boxing fans didn't actually believe David Haye because he did have a nature of trying to dupe and lie to the fans. But looking back on hindsight, it may have been that he was actually injured. I mean, if you look at the Tony Bellew fight, and obviously before that he probably had other injuries, like for example the fight against Klitschko where he hurt his toe. It is probably true that he did actually hurt himself, but unfortunately the fans didn't believe him because of all the actual lying that he's done earlier in his career. But regardless of that, a question that actually entered my mind is, when they were supposed to fight, who do you think would have won that particular fight between Tyson Fury and David Haye? Obviously now everyone's probably going to say Tyson Fury based on what he's accomplished in his career. Him beating Klitschko, him actually beating Deontay Wilder and actually knocking him out, like stopping him. People will probably think without a shadow of doubt that Tyson Fury would easily beat David Haye. But what you got to remember is back then, David Haye was the established star. He won the WBA heavyweight title, and at that time I think Tyson Fury was fighting the likes of Steve Cunningham, who actually hurt and dropped him. Obviously he managed to win that fight, but he didn't look as impressive. So obviously this was the Tyson Fury before he fought Klitschko and managed to win the heavyweight title. So when they were supposed to fight, who do you think would have won that fight? It's an interesting fight because if you think about it, what I just said earlier about David Haye being injured, there could be a chance that if he was to fight Tyson Fury, let's just say hypothetically he didn't get injured and that fight actually happened, he could have got injured in the fight. We saw that happened when he fought Tony Bellew in the first fight, when his knee popped out. I think his calf or his Achilles heel snapped or something, and he was wobbling on one leg. Now there is a likelihood that would have happened in the fight against Tyson Fury, based on hindsight, based on his performance after he came back out of retirement. But there is also a fact that Tyson Fury himself was not the finished article. It felt like Tyson Fury, when he had his breakout performance against Klitschko when he won the heavyweight title, that was a coming of age type of performance. Like, it showed who he actually was. But this was during the time when obviously I think this was just after the Steve Cunningham fight, where Tyson Fury showed some vulnerability. So if it was back then, a lot of people were saying that David Haye was going to easily ice Tyson Fury based on David Haye's punching power and the athletic ability that he has. But looking back on hindsight, even though Tyson Fury was a little bit vulnerable then, he always found a way to win the fight. And Tyson Fury is a huge heavyweight. Tyson Fury was a heavyweight that was bigger than Klitschko, and we saw how David Haye struggled against Klitschko's size. So I think I might lean towards Tyson Fury actually beating David Haye in this particular fight, if the fight was to happen. If you take into account that David Haye wasn't lying about his injuries this one time, there could be a chance that his body would have broken down in the fight as well, which inevitably means that Tyson Fury would have got the victory. So because of them two reasons, because David Haye would struggle with the size of Tyson Fury. If he struggled with the size of Klitschko, and let's be real now, Klitschko's not as big as Tyson Fury, and on top of that, like, let's be real now, Tyson Fury actually beat Klitschko. I know triangle theories don't always work in boxing, but that you could make a case that Tyson Fury, I think, may have beaten David Haye back then. And obviously we're talking in hindsight. At the time when the fight happened, when the fight was officially signed, I thought David Haye was going to win. I just felt like he was more established, and obviously Tyson Fury showed a lot of vulnerability in his fight against Steve Cunningham. So I thought if Steve Cunningham could land the right hand like that and drop Tyson Fury, then what do you think David Haye can do? David Haye's right hand was lethal. This was a dude that wobbled Nick Valuev with his right hand. Valuev, who was way, way, way bigger than way big, one of the biggest heavyweight champions ever. So a fighter having the ability to wobble and hurt someone that big, I thought he was going to go through Tyson Fury like a hot knife through butter. Unfortunately, it's just in hindsight, let's just be real, Tyson Fury is just a way better fighter than Valuev. So yeah, in my opinion, if they two were going to fight, in hindsight, I think Tyson Fury would have beaten him. But you tell me your thoughts below. Who do you think would have won that particular fight between Tyson Fury and David Haye? Do you think David Haye at that time had enough in a tank in terms of beating Tyson Fury? Because you got to remember, this was a time when his injuries were starting to become more prevalent. And on top of that, you got to remember he struggled with big heavyweights in the past, like the likes of Klitschko. So yeah, that's my thoughts below. Tell me your thoughts below, and like and subscribe. I got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.